Greetings, intrepid adventurers. I am Whisper. Welcome back to the library. Today, we are doing another playlist-inspired story. I'd call it a writing challenge, but I think of it more of an exercise than anything. Either way, I'm finding they're a lot of fun to do. In case you missed the first one of these I did, I will drop the link down below. For this video, I will be following the same rules as the first one. I pick a playlist, using the title as a theme for whatever I'm writing. I get a first listen and take notes on whatever comes to mind, and then set the playlist time as the limit for writing something inspired by it. I'm slowly picking longer and longer videos. I'm interested, but also worried about what's going to happen when we work our way up to an hour writing session. But that is a bridge we will burn when we get to it. In the meantime, the playlist I've picked for today is Falling in Love with Someone You Can't Have. It's 16 minutes and 50 seconds long, just a little bit longer than the first one. I wasn't really sure what to expect when I picked it. You can have 1,000 playlists with the same theme, but everyone will always have their own personal takes on it. These are the first impressions I got doing my initial listening for this particular rendition. A small town or village. Girl sees boy, falls in love at first sight. Boy is a powerful magician, smiling and full of life. He conjures her a flower. She overhears a conversation she definitely shouldn't have. She runs off to cry, and she feels small and stupid. In the first video, all I could conjure up was a single line of dialogue. It kind of gave me a direction to go, but it was definitely hard to find a way to lead up to it. This time, I had a much more definitive vision while I was listening. A warm, blustery day with shining sun, a beautiful man with a heart-melting smile, tall white buildings with sloping roofs and terracotta-colored archways lining a bustling cobblestone street. I can only hope I did a little bit of justice to my vision. This was actually much easier to do the second time around. I had more of a feeling for just how much could really be done in 16 minutes. I feel this was much more productive. I managed to write a full page and a half in my campus notebook. When typed out, it came to 495 words, just under the 500-word goal I was aiming for. Overall, I'm pretty happy with how this piece came out. I had ideas when I was typing it up on how to improve it if I were to go back and rewrite it. I think this would be easy to turn into a proper short story. But what do you think? It had seemed to her that he'd blown into town with the wind, grinning and shining like the sun, eyes glittering a brilliant fuchsia. He zipped through the streets on a hand-carved broom, flowers blooming on the trees in his wake. She had never seen such a lovely sight. Nobody believed in love at first sight more than she had in that moment. He blew into town every morning as the bells tolled 8, right as she slid open the lock to the door on her family's bakery. For a week he came and chatted to the people at the stalls, how she wished she hadn't needed to mind the shop, but her mother had just given birth and her father was out bartering for ingredients, which left only her in charge. Aside from Daisy, who had been her father's first employee. However, she was off visiting family, or rather she should have been. Daisy rolled in one morning with a summer gale on her tail. Her golden curls were starting to silver and she had sweet dimples. She grinned as she came through the door. "Lila, I've just had a chat with the most wonderful man. You really must go and meet him." Daisy hurried. She shoved Lila out the door and locked it behind her. The wind tousled her long curls, dusting off day old flour from her apron. That wonderful, magical man stood at the next door over. He was surrounded by men and women alike. Lila could see his hair shone in the sun. She was drawn to him, the charming grin. "And who might you be?" he asked her, extending a flower she had no name for. Lila Pettit, she muttered. She gratefully took the flower. It was an aroma she'd only imagined in dreams. By that dusty apron, I reckon you're the girl I've seen lurking in the window of the bakery. Excuse me, we haven't been properly introduced. Theodore Turnbuckle, right-hand wizard of Her Majesty. How wonderful to meet your acquaintance, the bell above told 10. That time already, Lila muttered, shielding her eyes as she looked at the clock. Well then, I must be off. The Gardenia Ball is but a week away, and there is so very much to do. Until later, Lila Pettit. He was off in a flash that was perfumed with roses. Lila was on high when she went back to the bakery. Daisy had lost a bit of gusto. What's wrong? Lila asked. Daisy pouted. I thought for sure he'd like you. But I've just gotten off the phone with Mrs. Richards. She says that Wizard Turnbuckle's engaged to one of the sorceresses on the Magician's Council, and they're to be married the day before the Gardenia Ball. It's okay. Lila's voice quivered, and tears danced dangerously on the edges of her eyes. Why would someone like that like me anyhow? Oh, Lila, Daisy cooed. If you'll excuse me. I didn't get to include everything I wrote down, and upon recording, the accents were totally spur of the moment. So they're probably not great, and definitely did not match between the lines, but that's alright, honestly. In general, I feel like I was able to get enough down in the story to convey the theme. I'm not quite sure how so much of it became flower themed, but I'm not complaining. I think it ended up nicely, especially for Brain Vomit I wrote in almost 17 minutes. It ended up feeling a lot like the Howl's Moving Castle book, and maybe I unintentionally drew inspiration from that. Howl wears perfume that smells of hyacinths in the book. He's also far more dramatic, flamboyant, and egotistical, and him and Sophie argue a lot. She has far more spunk and attitude in the books, even going as far as cutting up Howl's suits. One thing I also wasn't expecting was actually connecting this story with something else I wrote ages ago, the Gardenia Commoner's Ball, which was something I wrote after Howl's Moving Castle inspired me. I haven't thought about the little excerpt I wrote about in ages. I'm just pleasantly surprised by how seamlessly it all fit in. So, as usual, the link to the playlist is in the description below. I am also going to make a playlist of all the videos I'm referencing so that you all have a collective place you can see them for yourselves. Let me know what you think in the comments below. I highly recommend using a playlist as a writing exercise. If you do, let me know how it goes. I hope you enjoyed the video and that I get to see you in the next one. Until then, keep dreaming and farewell.